Alright, this is continuing with the test review. This is the second part of the test. This is multi-step equations. Once again, the link's there if you want to go and look at some videos before you actually try these questions. And mainly you're going to focus on three-step equations, multi-step as in 4 and 5 steps, and also proportions as well. So let's click on to slide 14. So solve the following equation. So I'm going to start by writing out the question. So there was a recommendation for the first part that you should have some paper nearby while you're doing these. And what I notice is for this question is I've got my variables on both sides. So what I'm looking to do then is to bring them all to one side. So I'm personally going to bring things to the variables to the left. So where it says minus 7b, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 7b to both sides. Work out what this gives you. So 3b plus 7b is 10b. And everything else, I'm just going to leave here, minus 4 and equals 36. And as I've got all my variables together, I'm going to bring numbers to the other side. So I'm going to want to bring this negative 4 across. So if I add 4 to both sides, that will do that. 36 add 4 is obviously 40. And then our last step is we're just dividing by 10. So that gives us 40 divided by 10, which is 4. And then obviously you can pick the correct answer from the multiple choice. So pretty much after you've done that first step, once you're here, you're actually at the two-step equations, which was what the last section was. So make sure you fully understand the two-step equations before you move on, or else you are going to be very confused. Same idea with this one. I have variables on both sides. If I was personally doing this question, I would probably bring the variables to the right, but I'm always going to bring them to the left in class. I'm going to keep everything the same. So I'm going to take away 2z from both sides. So negative 6z, take away 2z is negative 8z. Please use a calculator on this. I've seen people in class say two negatives make a positive, which is not true for when you're subtracting. And I'm going to write 60. It says positive 60 there, so I know that's just the same as 60. Once I got my variables on one side, I want to bring my numbers to the other side by doing opposites. So take away 20 from both sides, gives you 40. And then don't add 8 on here, which I've still seen people do occasionally. Remember, as they're next to each other, that means you're multiplying by negative 8. So the last step is to divide by negative 8, and 40 divided by negative 8 is negative 5. Questions on the two previous slides could be solved. Remember, there are two special cases too. We can have no solutions and infinite solutions too. The picture to the right gives an example of each. Sometimes you'll have to solve the whole equation. Sometimes you'll be given the last line and have to interpret what it means here. So on the examples that you can see here, wherever there's parentheses, what we've gone ahead and done is we've gone ahead and distributed those. And what the key thing will be is when you actually multiply out, you'll notice that you'll have the same number of x's on both sides. So for my two questions here, notice how the number of x's are the same. So when you subtract 6x from both sides, it actually cancels both. Or when you subtract 12x, it cancels both. And then that final line is the key one. Does 3 equal 5? Obviously no, so you can pick no solution. Does 24 equal 24? Yes. Well, there is no yes solutions, but you certainly wouldn't put no if the answer was yes. And the same on the bottom here. If it just gives you the final line, does 2 equal 3? No. Does 5 equal 5? Yes. So don't pick the one that says no. And that should help you to make sure you choose the right answers for those questions. So probably as that was given, and notice the answer choices here, that's probably what's going to happen on this question. So let's just look. 6 times 4x is 24x. 6 times 2 is 12. And on the other side, 4 times 3 is 12. And 4 times 6x is 24x. So if I take away 24x from both sides, notice they're actually the same here. 24x, 24x. So these both cancel. I get 12 equals 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes. So make sure you pick this one. Clearly don't pick no. I did put 12 as a good answer here as well, just to try and get you to pick 12, because you can see 12. And also, if you subtracted 12 from both sides, you would also actually get 0 equals 0. So I made sure I included x equals 0 as a possible answer as well. But does 0 equal 0? Yes. So once again, I'm picking my words. When you only get numbers left over like this at the end, it's always going to be either no solutions or infinite solutions. And let me just go back to that so you can see. As there are no x's here, I'm looking right at the bottom, that's my clue that this is going to be no solution or infinite solutions. Now, this one works better on Desmos because it's going to be the drag and drop type question. So we're just going to have to do the best that we can for this one. So I've got all these to put together. It says match each equation, with the correct answer type. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the number of x's. So I got 3x and I've got negative 2x. Well, they're not even the same. So if I call these ones 1, 2, and 3, then I'm going to put that one in 3. They both have 2x, so if I cancelled that, I get 5. Oh, does 5 equal 5? Yes. So I'm going to put that one as infinite solutions. And this one also has 2x on both, so I'm going to cancel that out. Does 5 equal 3? No. So I'm going to pick the one that says no solutions, which is number 1. This one we're going to be careful of, this one on the top here. It looks like 6x and 6x, but notice it says negative 6x. So actually, if I added 6x to both sides, I'd have 12x. So actually, this one's also going to be has a solution because they're not exactly the same. 7 and 7. Does 2 equal 10? No. So I'm going to pick option 1. And on this one here, cancel the 5x's. 10 equals 10. That's a yes. So that would be option 2. And actually, for that question, I could have picked it right at the start because they were identical. Ones with just numbers, I know are either going to be no solution or infinite solution. Does 0 equal 1? No. So I'm going to pick option 1. Does 12 equal 12? Yes. So don't pick the one that says no. Pick the one that says infinite solutions. And as you're doing this, you'll actually drag them together. And what it'll do is it'll kind of stack them together. If you drag them on top of each other, it stacks them so you can see if you got the correct answer or not. That's three-step equations, but let's go a little further. When we have parentheses on a question, we need to distribute first. So on the following question, distribute both sides of the equation. Then solve it just like you do on a regular three-step equation. So here's our question. 5x plus 2 equals 2x plus 17. No multiple choice this time. There is a space at the top to enter our answer, so we can do that. And you'll have some of those on the test as well. So 5 times x, 5x. 5 times 2, 10. 2 times x, and 2 times 7. So that's the only extra step from the 3-step to the 4-step. You have to distribute first, and then you're just going to follow those same steps. I'm going to move my x's to the left, so I'm going to take away 2x from both sides. So I'm going to get 3x. That cancels, and I get left with 34. And I'm going to take away 10 from both sides. And 34 take away 10 is 24. And then you can divide both sides by 3. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. So we can fill that in there. Another part of multi-step equations is proportions, which is one step more than the question we saw on the previous slide. And on the right side, there's an example. With proportions, we want to cross-multiply. I think of proportions as fraction equals fraction. So I always like to draw the little cross symbol on here just to remind you that you're multiplying those two things together and these two things together. It doesn't really matter which order you put them. I normally do this one first though, so 6 times this and 4 times this. Don't forget the parentheses on this question. That's really important. Otherwise, you're going to get 6c plus 3 when really it should be 6c plus 18. And you can look through the rest of that example if you wish. But we're going to get to our own little proportions question. So I'm going to do this times this equals this times this. So I'm always going to put the number first. So I'm going to put the 5. And then I've got to remember those parentheses as well. And this says keep trying the question until you get b equals 8 and then select that answer. So I'm giving you the answer, but just to make sure that you're doing this question correctly. So 5 times b is 5b. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. 3 times b and 3 times 4. So I'm going to... Oh, I just... looks like I might have to fix this because it looks like there's an error right now. So I'm going to take away 3b from both sides. That cancels, so I get left with 2b minus 10 equals... that cancels, equals 12. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So 2b equals 22. And then when you divide by 2, it's going to be 11. So by the time you see this test, I will have changed the answer for this and made sure that the answer is correct, is 11. I can actually tell that 8 is an incorrect answer for this one just by substituting. 8 minus 2 is 6, and 8 plus 4 is 12, and 6 over 3 is 2, but 12 over 5 is not. So that's another way you can check your answer, remember, at the end by substituting. Whereas if I plug 11 into here, 11 minus 2 is 9, and 11 plus 4 is 15, and 9 divided by 3 is 3, and so is 15 divided by 5 as well. So that question will be fixed by the time you try this question. And our last question is kind of our word problem question. They do like to ask questions about perimeter and area. We'll do area when we do our FOIL unit a little bit later. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 90. What is the value of x? So this comes down to definitions, and definition is for perimeter is you add all the sides together. So it doesn't matter particularly where you start. I'm going to start on that left-hand side, 2x plus 1. I'm going to work with the side that I have on the right. I'm going to add that together as well. And you have to remember that these sides are also the same length because it is a rectangle. So it's important that you label the missing sides, because if you don't, you're actually going to miss part of your answer for this question. So I'm going to put all 4 sides together, and I'm running out of room a little bit here. It says the perimeter is 90, so I'm going to put it equal to 90. And then what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for like terms here. All these terms here are on the same side of the equal sign, so I'm not going to be doing opposites. I'm just going to be collecting them together. So 2x plus 5x plus 2x plus 5x, if I add that together, that gives me 14x. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 is 6. And then we can go ahead and solve that equation. We can take away 6 from both sides. I'm running out of a little room, so I'm going to go up to the top here. Is 84. And then I can divide both sides by 14, and 84 divided by 14, I hope is 6. I'm doing that one in my head right now, and that should be good. But be careful. A lot of people will just add these 2 sides together and get 7x plus 3 equals 90, which will actually give you the wrong answer for that question. So if you label the other 2 sides, that should stop that from happening. That is 1B.2 test review on multi-step equations done. The second section of the test will be similar to this, so make sure if you do not understand a particular question to ask your teacher about it before you test. Your test will be shorter than this. Great job. Make sure you look over this test review again before you take your actual test. You have one final question, but after that class is dismissed. What questions do you have about today's lesson? And you have a chance to answer something here if necessary. Could be something that you learnt, something that you still need to work on, a step that you didn't understand. If I forget to change that answer, I guess it's, why is it 8? I thought it was 11. But anyway, your chance to put something in there, and that will do it for this part of the review.